What's up, nation?
My name, of course, Philip DeFranco.
I got patriotic goosebumps.
And honestly, I wish our candidates would start talking about things that actually matter. Welcome back, nation. We are live at the RNC, and it's real. It's a real thing today. As always, I'm Philip DeFranco, and you are watching our live election coverage on youtube.com/politics. And once again, I also have Elliot Morgan and Meg Turney.
Oh! Hi, guys. How's it going?
Oh.
I stole your question.
You did.
I'm so sorry.
Is day 2 harder, though, now that we're working?
Oh, I thought it was easier.
Yeah, no, it's a lot harder.
Nice and sunshiny outside?
Yeah, I'm having to write things and pay attention, and I'm stuck in a little corner. But
you weren't doing that yesterday?
No.
Oh, just me.
I was roaming about.
Just me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back with these guys a little bit later. But we're going to first talk about the Republican Party who officially nominated Mitt Romney for their candidate for president today. Who knew? Yesterday, all events were canceled due to Isaac, which really didn't do anything except make things rainy. And, I mean, obviously it's going to be bad for Louisiana. But that's, Katrina, bad timing, hurricane season. Everyone's talking about that. But first, I want to talk today about security around the RNC. It's a bit insane. I feel like that's proper to say. It's a bit insane. I mean, it does make sense. You have some of the leaders of our country, potentially the future president, and there is a track record for people doing not so nice things to people in power. I mean, there's a reason the Pope rolls around in a rocket-proof glass car. But first, to do it, you have to go taxi first from the hotel. Then the driver takes you to the only place you can get out, 4 blocks away from the barrier. Then you start seeing just the guys in the glasses. I thought it was just in movies. Guy's glasses, buff guy, looks, he's like, what is happening? Then up and down every block you have entire barricades. I mean, you have police, you have Secret Service and body armor. I'm pretty sure yesterday I saw National Guards with assault rifles, and you haven't even passed the first checkpoint. Then you finally get to it, and you hit the same security, but at the same time, they pepper in a bunch of potential future Walmart greeters with Southern hospitality, and you're like, this is nice, but scary. Then you walk through, you're like, where's the entrance? Not even close. There are 3 separate fences that are one way in, one way out, and at each entrance you have about 3 security guys just double checking you. And big note, security guys, scary, but at the same time, super polite and nice. Then you get into the convention center, you have a full line of metal detectors, bags go through the x-ray, they wand and pat you down in a nice way, and then they finish up with an adorable bomb-sniffing doggy. And it's at that point where you're thinking to yourself, I feel safe, but I also wonder if this is what a police state looks like. It makes you think, what is the proper balance? And I mean, what do you guys think? And yes, I am aware of the Benjamin Franklin quote that you want to tweet me. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. I'm not asking you what Franklin thought. I want to know what you think. And it should be noted, Benjamin Franklin said this before the Aurora shooting, before the Oklahoma City bombing, and before 9/11. We live in a different time, and I want you to talk to us. So tweet us with the hashtag PDSLive. Let us know what you think. Leave comments in the chat right now. What freedoms are you willing to give up in order to feel secure? Now, one of the reasons for the heightened security are the protesters at the RNC. A lot of people planned to come down, but the numbers were a little reduced. They were a little scattered because Isaac caused some trouble with their travel. However, marches went on yesterday. I saw a few today. And because I wanted to show you guys what those looked like, I kicked the source-fed Catamaran into the wild. And here's what they saw.
Brothers and sisters, we are going to be marching on the Tampa Bay Forum, the site of the RNC, to stand up, to speak out, to let people know there's going to be a movement against the Republican agenda.
Our goal is to actually unite the people behind one struggle and against one enemy, and that is the parties of the 1%.
We want better health care and health care for all. We want more quality public education, and we want the end of these never-ending wars.
And one of the things that we're challenging the Republicans on are their lack of women's rights, part of their platform, where essentially the Republicans are saying that women's bodies belong to the government, and that's why we have the vaginas here. We're saying, hands off my vagina.
Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back!
What we really want is for you to just think about the future of this planet. Think about the future of your families. Because the clock is ticking, and each day is becoming more and more apparent, and that future is being more and more bleak.
Revolution
all know what the political situation in this country is. We live in a society that's dominated by the 1%. It's organized around the needs of corporations, if you call them needs, their desire for profits, and it's at the expense of the rest of us. This is a situation that's unacceptable.
Well, we just marched from our first rally through the streets of Tampa to send the Republicans a message that we would like to see their defeat. We're here in the streets demanding good jobs, affordable education, health care, equality, and peace.
Our coalition is a perfect example of what the youth is up to all over the nation. Mostly the people who are here are in their 20s or even younger than that.
We hope they come out in the streets and help us build a youth and student movement. They should join Students for a Democratic Society on their campus and make a difference in this country.
It's important for us to be out in the streets. It's important for us to be protesting all the time. That's the only way that we can make change. It's the only way we've ever made change in this country and in this world.
We're not relying on voting. We're marching to get what we want.
Now, nation, yesterday Tropical Storm Isaac, which earlier today was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane, forced the RNC to cancel its first day of events. That left a lot of politicians with a little extra time. And the floor above us is something we call Radio Row. You walk up there, you see every major radio station. You have ABC, Fox, NPR, pretty much everyone, and you have your conservative talk show hosts going on each other's show, and it's kind of cool. To put it in terms, it would be kind of like if you saw the Guild booth at Comic-Con and Felicia Day was doing something with Shane Dawson. But along with those hosts, you've got a lot of big Republican names going from booth to booth. For example, you have Mike Huckabee. He's a former governor, presidential candidate, or you may know him as the Chick-fil-A guy. Well, right after he finished his show, he walked right over to the next booth and just did that, and then the next one. And we also had Newt Gingrich, who not only made the rounds on Radio Row, but he came down around 50 feet from here. You might have seen him on the PDS yesterday, and he smelled like a moon base. Then you had Arthur Davis, Herman Cain, and John Voight, because why not John Voight? But the important thing that happened was the official nomination of Mitt Romney as the Republican presidential candidate. And the nomination, to get the nomination, you have to do two things. First, someone in the party has to nominate him, and the delegates have to tally the votes. That happened today. Second, you have to have the nominee speak and accept the nomination. So the party has to go, "Hey, you want to be president?" And Romney's like, "I guess I'll go, yeah. And then the nomination becomes official-ish. The nominating speeches today came from former Governor John Sununu of New Hampshire, Barbara Comstock, co-chair of the convention, and Ron Kaufman, an advisor to the Romney-Ryan campaign. Ryan will be giving his acceptance speech Thursday, and boom, it's over. Convention is over. And then it all comes down to those votes. How do you get them? Why do people not vote? And to get a little more insight, here is our very own Meg Turney right now.
Hey guys, so today I'd like to talk about voter apathy. I hear a lot of people nowadays saying things like, "Oh, I don't want to vote because I don't care," or "No matter who you vote for, it's all the same." And it infuriates me to know that there are millions of people in this country who have the power to affect change who choose not to because, "Oh, I'm powerless, oh, I'm uninterested." In 2008, 38% of eligible voters stayed home, and that was the best turnout we'd had in the polls for 40 years. That's nearly 81 million people with the power to vote who chose not to. So let's take a look at what kind of effect 81 million people could have had in the 2008 election. Barack Obama took home 66.8 million votes, and John McCain got 58.3. That's a difference of just 8.5 million votes. So if 7% of those voters who stayed home had come out in favor of McCain, we'd have a different president. 7%. So there's been a lot of talk recently, most notably by President Obama's former budget director, Peter Orszag, of making voting mandatory. Now, there are several nations, including Australia, Mexico, and most of South America, where voting is already mandatory. In Australia, there's actually a fine for staying home from the polls. Now, granted, it's a relatively small amount, about $20, but still, the pressure is there. So I'm all for getting people to the polls, but I am completely against compulsory voting. First of all, it forces people who may have absolutely no knowledge of a candidate, what they are, what they stand for, to vote. And I don't want someone all willy-nilly, blind and pressing buttons and pulling levers in a voting booth. It's also been argued that forcing people to vote constitutes a forced speech act, violating our freedom of speech because that freedom of speech also protects our right not to speak. So in the face of increasing voter apathy, many voter groups have stepped up to increase not only the number of people registered to vote, but to increase the number of educated voters. One such group is Rock the Vote. Since it started 21 years ago, it's registered more than 5 million young people to vote. They utilize a unique blend of pop culture that includes posting up outside bands' Warped Tour and partnering with brands like Assassin's Creed and Spotify, pulling in celebrities like Christina Aguilera and Madonna back when she mattered. So I sat down with Heather Smith, the president of Rock the Vote, to find out how they're battling voter apathy in style. Hey guys, I'm here with Heather Smith. She is the president of Rock the Vote. Heather, it's so good to meet you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
How are you? Because you've been working today.
It's been a busy day. We launched a bus tour, so we're taking artists and musicians to college campuses all around the Tampa area. And so I've been registering voters in the rain.
How many voters do you think you registered today?
You know, we're doing a couple hundred at every school and making sure everyone knows where to go and what to do on election day and gets all the information they need. And then we have the Far East movement who's performing for all the students this afternoon.
That's really cool. I mean, like, you guys get the best of the best. Madonna, Snoop Dogg, Far East movement. I mean,
it's true.
Do you think that that's what brings people out? You kind of nab them with the pop culture and then educate them?
Rein them in. I mean, it is part of the idea. Let's bring people together. And, you know, what brings people together better than music and concerts and festivals? So we're actually hosting 3 today, 2 outside of Tampa and then 1 tonight downtown. And when they're all there, when all these young people are together, we can say, okay, great, now make sure you're registered or go vote. But
right.
It kind of celebrates the right to vote. It makes it a lot more fun, and as it turns out, it works.
So young voters nowadays, what do you think are the most important issues to them? Do you think it's social or fiscal?
It's a great question. I think at the end of the day, you know, there's 46 million young people, so it's hard to say, oh, the one thing for everybody is. But, you know, there are real life issues like finding a job and paying off your student debt and affording college that they're facing every single day. And those are real issues that deserve real solutions and real debate and real proposals from those running for president. I think that's what will motivate young people to show up at the polls. But of course the social issues are important too.
So one of the things we were talking about today is compulsory voting, forcing people to vote, making it a law that you have to vote. What do you think about that?
You know, it's interesting. I think if someone wants to opt out, that's their own decision. But I do think that we should make voter registration automatic. Then people would have that decision. Do I want to vote? Do I not? I can't imagine why people wouldn't. You know,
yeah,
these are,
absolutely.
You're electing representatives who are deciding all these things about your life and your future, and you have the power for a very small moment, and that's when you're deciding who they are. If we educate people through civics and make sure they understand the power they have in our schools and our high schools and make sure they're all registered, then I think you'll see participation skyrocket.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today,
thank you.
And thank you for everything you do.
We'll get out there and let them know that we will register, we'll organize, we will rock the vote this November and bring as many people along with us as we can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we just come out of a video about voter apathy. Why do people not vote? To talk about it, roundtable style, we have Meg Turney, Elliot Morgan.
Oh, hey.
Back again.
Hello.
Oh, what a surprise. Good seeing you guys.
Oh, man, I
nice
didn't even
to
know
see
you were
you.
there.
Yeah, me neither. Anyway.
So what do you think? Who wants to jump in?
Voter apathy. I've suffered from voter apathy on a pretty regular basis.
I thought about you this whole piece, Elliot.
No, I mean,
I did.
I think everybody should get out and vote. And like you said before, I think it should be educated voting. I think people need to decide. And I think if you get into the voting booth and all of a sudden there's all these amendments and there's all these judges, I don't see a lot of value in just like picking somebody, because a lot of times that happens. I know the first time I voted, I was like, I don't know what this means. I guess I'll go with no. But yeah, as a whole, voter apathy is something that I always struggle with it. I always have to be reminded that it is an important decision.
Do you think, so your idea is that part of it goes into it's very easy to become overwhelmed?
Yeah, I get overwhelmed, and also I get sort of like freaked out by all of it. When I was in high school, I was like super into politics. Like I was like super Republican,
so
believe
much
it or
sense.
not. Yeah.
Oh, no
yeah, I know,
way.
terrifying. So I was in high school, and I would like, politics was so much a part of my identity that I would argue with people all the time, and as a result, they would argue back, and then I would argue more, and then like my entire high school experience became largely about whether you should be Republican or Democrat. And that's when, after that happened, and I sort of like lost contact with a lot of friends because of it, I was like, okay, you know what, politics is ridiculous, so now I'm kind of having to like slowly ease myself
So you
back
like
into
burned
it.
yourself out on it.
Totally.
I just think
yeah.
that I don't get when people say like, oh, it doesn't matter. 81 million. If they could have picked Bugs Bunny and they would have elected him by a landslide if they'd all come out for Santa Claus or Tom Cruise.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Bugs
I
Bunny
mean,
would be a
81
fantastic
million.
president.
So I mean, would one thing to combat feeling overwhelmed, do you think that more states should have the option? I think they might be losing it. Nevada, where you can vote for nobody. Like where you can literally just be like, none of the above, screw these guys, or
Okay,
I don't know, or I'm
that's
ignorant
stupid.
on it.
So they just show up they just show up and they don't vote?
Well, no. I mean, not like
that seems
none
like
of the above.
a huge waste of
100%.
time.
Well, I mean, in 2008, I think it was around 6,500 people voted none of the above for the president. But I mean, let's say you are knowledgeable of, you're like, okay, this is the guy I want for president, but I haven't watched anything else, and I don't want to make a bad decision like you're saying. Should other states maybe have none of the above for?
Forgive me if I'm wrong. I believe you can skip.
You can
just not put anybody in, but it doesn't completely void your entire ballot. You know what I mean? So honestly, like if you don't know about something, skip it, but
I
be
really like
informed. There's the internet. You can Google anything you want to Google nowadays. Like it's important. These people make policies that could affect your daily life, who you can marry, who you can love, what you can do to your own body. It matters.
Yeah, you're selecting your opinion essentially for the this certain amount of time, depending on who you're voting for.
Yeah.
Okay, then any other reasons why you would think that people wouldn't want to vote? Is it because maybe, I don't know,
they got stuff to do.
The electoral
they
college?
busy, you know? They got like good TV, Breaking Bad. That takes up a lot of people's time.
No, a lot of people have there's been a big issue
twist.
this election process with voter disenfranchisement laws. So saying like you can't vote at nighttime and you can't vote on weekends and taking away special times where people could get out of work to vote. A lot of people nowadays are in lower income jobs where they can't just be like, hey, I got to go vote. You know what I mean? But it's important. It's important to go and do, and your employer cannot legally keep you from doing it.
It's important. Yes.
Team SourceFed.
I don't know.
What? You don't think it's important?
No, it's super important. I was just thinking.
He wants to
I was
see
just thinking to
us
myself.
Oh, you want
I
to
wish
fight?
I could make a point.
Elliot, I could fight if you need us to fight.
No, I know that when I was looking on Twitter, one of the reasons that kept coming up was, I think it's stupid that the popular vote doesn't matter, and it makes me feel like my vote doesn't matter.
I completely agree with that.
That's what I was like.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's disheartening.
Because it feels like you're voting into a system that's stupid.
Well, no, I mean, I casted my vote for Barack Obama in a red state, and my vote did not count. You know what I mean? That feels shitty.
It can, yeah. But we are going to bring you guys back because tonight we are going to talk about the speeches that we have tonight, because we're going to be hearing from Governor John Kasich of Ohio introducing the theme of the night, We Built It. That is in response to President Obama's speech that he said, you didn't build that, in reference to roads and electricity that connect you to your business. And Republicans are taking it that the president is saying, hey, owners, you're incapable of starting a business without the government's help. So Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell will be bringing the theme home, and we've got parts of his speech tonight. He's expected to say that the country needs, quote, a president who will say to a small businesswoman, congratulations, and we applaud your success. You did make that happen. You did build that. Big government didn't build America. You built America. Insert cheers. But we can't help but notice here that you use the term businesswoman, and it kind of makes sense. Republicans lately have been hammered over women's rights thanks to people like Todd Akin and his legitimate rape comment. Then you had people trying to defend him, not using maybe the best possible words. And then the guy went from a 10-point lead in Missouri to trailing by a 10-point margin. And it's being argued that it's also tightened the presidential race in the state. Real Clear Politics have changed the rating in the state from leans Romney rating to a toss-up rating. One would think that with such a swift change in voter opinion, politicians would maybe back away from it, treat it with kids' gloves. But then you have Tom Smith, a Pennsylvania Republican running for Senate who has put new energy into the issue. He was once again trying to distance himself from Akin's remarks, but he accidentally stirred up even more controversy. He was condemning Akin's comments, but he still agreed with Akin's position that abortion should be banned without any exceptions. But when a reporter then asked, how would you handle this if your daughter became pregnant as a result of rape? Smith replied that he already had lived something similar to that. Smith mentioned that something similar wasn't rape. When he was asked to clarify, he said having a baby out of wedlock, putting yourself in a father's position, yes, it's similar. And I guess it could be argued that it is similar in that there were penises and vaginas involved, but no, not at all. Now, unlike Akin, this isn't a big deal for him because he was already losing the race by double digits. How? Such a winner? And those distractions regarding female rights are hurting the GOP, especially when they want to focus on unemployment and the economy. That being said, it's also an issue the Democrats are just going to use and use over and over again. And it's requiring Romney and Ryan to spend time during this RNC talking about that when they should be talking about the economy. And that's how the game is played. Distractions, changing the context of what someone says, and dodging damaging topics. But then, of course, we have Ann Romney, wife of candidate Mitt Romney, speaking tonight. Yesterday, her interviews alongside her husband were played on the major networks as she tried to prove that her husband was in fact not a robot.
That's so nice. I know, you're always calling Megalo.
Sorry.
A little bit goes a long way. Okay, hey guys. So yeah, today was the first full day of the events here at the Republican National Convention, and I met some new people. I shook some hands, and I saw my fair share of stuffed elements, which was my favorite part. Now, I can say sincerely that the majority of people here are kind, they're well-mannered, and most of all, they're Southern, which means they are automatically awesome. Except one dude who I met in the elevator on the first day, who was going to the executive level of our hotel, and I said I was pressed and I was with YouTube, and that I leaned to the right on certain fiscal issues, and his response was, "Yeah, you better." I didn't really like that guy. But I spoke today with Kyle Downey, who I did like. He is the press secretary for the RNC, and his job is to talk to sweaty, disheveled journalists and try to see his way through a minefield of loaded questions. Take a look. What's up, guys? I'm Elliot Morgan, and I'm here with Kyle Downey, press secretary for the Republican National Convention. Kyle, how's your day going?
It's a busy day, but we're moving forward, and it's a good time.
So, as you know, I don't know if you've heard this or not, there's a storm that's been roaming through the Gulf. Is this storm like the bane of your existence so far?
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a big storm. We're concerned about those in its path. We've had to readjust our schedule, but we're moving forward, and we're going to have a good convention.
What was the decision process like for postponing, for canceling the first days of the event?
Sure. Well, we've been in constant communication with federal, state, and local authorities. Safety of the convention goers, the residents of Tampa, and of course all folks in the Gulf Coast region were our first and primary concern.
Wonderful.
So, it came down to a safety decision, and we felt that, out of an abundance of caution, it would make sense to postpone Monday's proceedings and compress the schedule into 3 days rather than 4.
And how's that compression going so far?
Well, so far so good. We've had to readjust, but all of our prime time speakers will remain the same. The prime time speakers from Monday will just be incorporated into the rest of the week. So.
Now, something I read this morning that's got me a little upset, that I was really looking forward to, was my personal idol, Donald Trump. It looks like he's not going to be here. What's the reason behind that?
Well, again, we had to cut a whole day's worth of schedule out, and it didn't work on Mr. Trump's schedule.
He wasn't. Oh, okay. That's a shocker. Mr. Trump's priorities aren't lining up properly. So, as far as all of the events that you have so far, what are you most excited about personally?
What am I most excited about? I think Mrs. Romney is going to give a phenomenal speech tonight. I'm very much looking forward to that. Paul Ryan, I'm from Wisconsin, so I've got a great deal of pride to see a fellow Wisconsinite up on the podium there and accept the VP nomination. And of course, Governor Romney himself.
Sure.
So it should be a great couple of nights.
So what do you have to say to young people who see all of this and they're just not political? Like, how do you get young people excited about the fact that we are choosing a new president?
Look, your future is on the line, plain and simple. The decisions that are made in Washington, D.C. may not affect you today, but they will affect you later in life. So you should be engaged, and there's no excuse not to. So as an American citizen, it's really your duty to tune in and participate. And again, your future is on the line with a lot of these decisions. So I don't know how else I can say it other than
it's great.
You have a stake
Perfect.
in this.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Appreciate
all right.
it.
Nice meeting you.
Take it easy.
Wow. That was riveting. So Kyle Downey dodged my question about Donald Trump, which, in fairness, I didn't really do a good job of selling the idea that I care about Trump because, spoiler alert, I don't. Now, Mr. Downey urged young people to vote because their future depends on it, and it does. If it were up to me, every young person 18 or over would be out and about voting. Heck, maybe even throw in a couple, 4-year-olds to vote. It would be the most adorable case of voter fraud ever. But I think there's another issue here that a lot of people don't talk about. They get so caught up in the idea of voting that they forget another part of the process, like Meg mentioned earlier, and that's the process itself. Everyone knows voting is important, but you know what else is important? Educated voting. I spoke last night about how I don't know who I'm voting for, and that's true, because I'm in the process of trying to wade through all of the BS that both campaigns are slinging at each other to determine who has the better presidential candidate. But for me, that's the most exciting part about this. If I'm being totally honest, I would have to admit that taking care of the future of this country isn't really what motivates me on a daily basis. What typically motivates me is the present, because I'm lazy. I like being comfortable. I like hanging out with my friends. Those are the things that I like to do right now. For example, right now, I'm talking to you, but I would rather be sleeping because sleeping motivates me. Don't get me wrong. I love me some future. Okay, whether it's Future America or Back to the Future or Future Elliot, because I hear he's really buff because he's going to start going to the gym soon and start working out later. I just love the present a little bit more, and that's why I think young people don't vote. It's not because they don't care about the future of the country. It's because they don't know how much fun the entire entire process can be. For all intents and purposes, the message sent to young people is that voting is the most important, vital, life and death errand you'll ever have to run. But it's more than that. It's fun, like in the present, like right now. There's a lot of Googling and a lot of Wikipediaing and even a little YouTube if you're so inclined. And that brings me to my final point. Come voting day, I will vote. I will rather be sleeping, but I will vote because I had fun learning about these candidates and their crazy ideas about how to fix this country, which, as unpopular as it is to say, I actually do love. Because how can you not love America? How can you not love a place that gave you freedom and liberty and Donald Trump? Okay? So come on, guys. Do it for Donald. All right, I can't even pretend that I give any crap about Donald Trump. So we're going to move on to The Nation Speaks. We've been pulling your tweets and your comments, and we're going to ask you about something you should care about, which is security versus freedom. All right.
Yay! Security!
And you guys have our tweets, I believe.
Freedom!
We do? Okay, so up next is Painted Wings 13, who says, hashtag PDS Live. We asked what freedoms you'd be willing to give up in order to have security. And Painted Wings 13 says, none. You can never be 100% safe, so why give up some freedoms when you will never be 100% safe?
Do you agree?
I think that's true. I think you can never be 100% safe.
You can't never be 100% safe. What if you were like, hey, you have an option of 10% safe or like 85% safe?
But still, 15% can come and get you. I
would
mean,
take
honestly, I feel like that's
85%
honestly
though.
why the Aurora shooting like really got to me, because I never thought of a movie theater as a place I wasn't safe. And now,
That's a good point.
mini
So,
panic attack.
This is
during
one of those things that,
every
like,
preview.
I agree with in principle. Like, I'm kind of on, like, a little bit of the Ron Paul train where it's like, hey, no one's safe. Be careful. Take responsibility. So, in principle, I'm like, yeah, don't take any of our freedoms to ensure my safety. On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily bother me that much. Like, I don't stay up at night if I feel like someone is checking out the books that I look at in the library.
But,
I
that's
know, it's
such a slippery
frustrating.
slope. That's such a slippery slope.
Wait, here's something I know that Meg will care about is, what if we lived in a world where the TSA didn't exist?
Oh my God, it would be the exact same as now because they do almost nothing.
Oh, you
I'm
can't
on
say
a list
that
now.
Just so you
Not gonna be able
know,
to fly short.
half of the source-fed demo,
I know, they're like 2 feet
all
away.
TSA. Because TSA employees, you should have known that.
No, I feel like there's a way to do it, and there's a way to be bloated and bureaucratic and to get absolutely nothing done. And there have been studies proven that they do very little to help us and keep us safe.
So are you okay with any amount of, like, intrusion?
Actually, I do agree with there being some amount of political oversight. I want to know if someone's buying a ton of kerosene and a map to this place. You know what I mean? I
Well,
want
what
to
if they
know.
just really like kerosene and all of a sudden they're like, you
Well,
can't take my
okay.
kerosene rats away?
I know. No, but I mean, keep an eye on them a little bit. But if somebody Googles like TSA proceedings, I don't want to be on a list just because I'm questioning whether or not the TSA.
See,
did
I think
well.
that's where we differ, because if I'm on a list for Googling that, it's like, I don't know. Do you feel like it's a slippery slope?
Yeah. No, it's 100%. I mean, it's kind of like what was it? The TPP today. It's like the son of ACTA, and it's more internet freedoms than like you going to the airport. But it's what's really scary are those gateway situations where it's like, yeah, no, I'll take something off the internet or block something because someone accused me. Right? That's never going to happen to me because I'm a good guy. But then what's the next step?
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that's definitely the scary thing. If you have not heard of the TPP, Google it or watch the Philip DeFranco show, which is up now.
It's actually
So actually, the next tweet I would love to talk about, because K-Man Blazer fan said at SourceFed at PhillyD #PDS Live. I think there should be a better gun law in effect. The rise in violence is scary, and I'm willing to give guns up.
So do you apply the same slippery slope argument to gun control?
I don't. I'm hypocritical, I know, and I'm from Texas, and I should love guns, but I would really like to take assault rifles off the street, and I would like to make sure if somebody's buying an assault rifle that they know, hey, that dude has an assault rifle, and maybe he's psycho. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to me that there are people on the street with assault rifles taking people down. But do we really need that? Do you need that for
Does
hunting?
that happen
No,
on a
you don't.
regular basis?
Well, I mean, actually, like underground, like I don't want to say gangsters because I'm pretty white, but they do have assault rifles. It happens. It does happen. There's no need for that in our
Guns,
society.
Mr. DeFranco, go.
I have no problem with handguns. It is weird, right? Because you have the shooting or shootings that happen. You have the guy. I like knowing that I have a gun at home and being like, oh, I'm a pretty weak guy. But when push comes to shove,
if you have this in your hand,
But a handgun is different than an assault rifle.
right? Well, I think that everyone should have the right to bear arms, which I know on the internet lately isn't a popular opinion to have. But should there be rules and regulations and certain things that you should have? Yeah. Maybe you have to have a license that automatically puts you on a list. I know a few people that like they have some gear. and they have to be on a certain list.
You're now on a list.
and those safety. Safety what? What's
Measures.
the word? Safety measures.
There we go.
Thank you for my words.
Yes, you're welcome. Anytime.
I think they're necessary, and for a situation that complex, yeah. But yeah, I 100% believe in the Second Amendment. Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I just think that there should be some regulations on. You can't say I'm going fishing with my assault rifle. That's silly. Like that's ridiculous.
Well, who says that?
People in Texas say that.
Yeah, you can
People
shoot
in
fish
Texas
with a gun.
say that.
Happens.
You probably
I'd
could
mainly
shoot
just be
fish with a
impressed.
gun. You know what? That could happen.
Spear gun.
Let's see, what else do
Can
we
I have
have?
friends on this team? Are there any friends to help me out?
We're all friends.
I don't believe that in a little bit.
All right, so moving on, we have Todd NYS says constitutional rights are precious and protect our freedom. I wouldn't give any back. 0. Safety is freedom. Hashtag PDS Live. Yeah, I agree with that. Rights are precious and they protect our freedom. On the other hand, I would like to know that I'm not going to die. So,
well, I think right. Safety is freedom. That makes that's there's something there. But does it bother you if we end up in a place where there are cameras on every corner? That it's there for safety, but could it be used against you?
Absolutely. I think that's a terrifying.
Do you think it's terrifying that we have places in this country where they're trying to pass laws that make it legal for you to shoot a police officer for bursting into your house?
Mm-hmm.
There is, I don't know, safety, freedom.
Yeah. But there's already, when I went to New York during New Year's Eve, there were already cameras on every single street corner, and it felt like you were in a police state. Like someone is watching me right now. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. It didn't make me feel safe. It made me feel like I don't want to use the word oppressed because it's dramatic, but oppressed. I may have smiled at the cameras.
I think you can't help it.
I can't not help it, especially when you're in this job.
No,
but I mean, I might feel. I get the idea that you feel safe, but when are you in a police state where they're watching your every move?
Isn't there a CBS show about that?
Well, no, but there's also there was a thing with the thing where a certain software goes through a lot of cameras, whether it's in casinos, street corners, ATMs. I think it's called Trapwire, and then in a way it could make you safer, but at the same time.
Do you feel okay with the government being like, he was in the casino, now he's in the airport, and I know exactly where Philly D is at all times without watching his YouTube channel? Isn't that weird?
I think I'm in theory and practice and in principle against all of it. I don't want there to be any cameras. I don't want there to be any regulation. I don't want anybody to know what I'm Google searching. At the same time, a part of me freaks out if something happens, if a tragedy happens, and we could have predicted it if we'd have looked at their computers and seen that they were doing crazy searches for how to make bombs. So
it's
true.
It
goes both ways.
I agree.
Let's see. The next tweet is.
All right. Kyle Wolf 18083 said, we need to make a way to vote online so we don't have to stop what we're doing to vote. It just needs to be easier. Cool, Anonymous is going to decide our president, everyone.
Yeah.
What website has Anonymous not been able to take down that you think they could vote on, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, I like the idea of not being able to vote online. I think, that's I'm lazy, I can do it. I like the idea that I heard mentioned earlier of being able to register in one day and just be
I completely agree with that.
I don't know, I don't think online. But really, is it super secure the way it is now? There have been stories coming out people just messing with the machines and they were like, how?
The first time I did it, I was like, wait, they were like, you put it in the envelope and then you take it out a little bit and then you stick it slightly into the machine and the machine sucks it out. And I'm like, I could have come up with a much simpler system where I just
voted on a
hand
computer.
somebody.
I just pushed a button and it was like, great job, you elected a president.
Your state had more money than my state.
No, but Heather Smith today, when I was talking to her, said she wishes that voter registration was compulsory, and I completely agree. I wish it was compulsory.
That you had to.
Yes, that you had to, or that it was automatic. Like when you get a driver's license, now you're registered to vote.
Oh, okay.
All you have to do now is check a box, and so people don't.
There is also the argument that, if they didn't register to vote, should they really be voting?
Well, no. If you don't want to vote, that's great, but don't. But there are people who stay home because, I moved to my college campus and now I can't vote because I'm not registered in the right state or whatever.
So it's a logistical thing. It's not making sure everybody in the world has to vote or anything.
Exactly. You don't have to vote. Just that you're registered, you have the ability if you'd like to.
That sounds pleasant.
Yeah. We can all. Did we disagree on something?
Yeah.
Did you guys agree?
That's twice.
I'll just disagree.
Oh. Awkward. This is tense.
Let's do one more.
Sure.
All right. Oh, here's one.
Who's first? There we go.
The Mighty Thor. This is for you, Meg. Here we go. I think Megan SourceFed is off base a bit. Voter apathy is more about the candidates and the feeling voting for the lesser of two evils. That goes back to the whole two-party system.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Vote for your third-party candidate. Vote for somebody who speaks to you. Just vote.
Yeah, that's great.
Because
Message
if you
from
vote
me to you.
for the less of two evils, still voting for evil. Who said that?
Yeah, somebody did say that. It's 100%
She said
proven.
it. I feel like I just mocked her. She was actually very nice.
She said it a lot more intelligently and gracefully.
That is true. Let's see. Any last thoughts on our topic before we kick it out?
Oh, I think people. Last thoughts. People should get out and vote. Learn who they're voting for, and maybe take a nap after you vote. So if your blood pressure spikes, you can relax a little bit.
Boom. Last thing?
I agree. Get out and vote. Be educated about who you're voting for, and don't blame it on I don't like people or I don't care. I'm not going to affect change. 81 million of you out here who aren't voting, so vote.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
and giving me hugs in between the breaks.
Yeah.
You're adorable. You are adorable.
I love
He's
you.
a nice guy.
But Nation, that's really everything we have tonight. We're going to be back tomorrow for our Wednesday night show, same time, same place. Ron Paul is going to get his 90 seconds of fame with a tribute video. Later, his son Rand Paul, not gone. He actually gets to make remarks on the convention floor. Then we have badass Republican John McCain, a video from President George W. Bush, and many more. And the highlight of the evening, and I heard he's shirtless, is Vice Presidential candidate Paul Ryan. That's not true. It's not true. But all of that's going to be tomorrow. As always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love your faces, and I'll see you tomorrow. Unless Meg takes your guns away.
What? I'm not allowed to go back to Texas now. They're not going to let me back in the state.
Nope. We just.